Hi, let's see how you can make this cool effect right here in Nordcraft using our new animation editor and a bunch of cool tricks in the editor. So I'm going to start from a completely blank slate here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a div. And I'm going to give it a height of we'll start with 200 by 200, right? And I'm going to give it a little bit of an outline here. Outline, it's going to be red, solid, and 1 pixel, right? So this is known as CSS debugging, adding outlines 1 pixel solid red to an element. And that's exactly why we're doing it here. We're going to remove it later. It is just a way of making sure this div is always visible on screen, right? Because I'm going to need that later. So the way we're going to achieve this effect is I'm going to add a span in here, right? And if we first, we'll just change the family to, we're going to use this code mono. And we're going to set the color to white. And I think we are also going to set this size to 2. Is that too much? That's too much. We'll dial that down to right here, right? Okay. So let's just start by centering this in the middle, right? So what we want to do is essentially spread this text around a circle. And there isn't really a way in CSS to let text flow along like a curve, not a CSS only way, right? But we do have a few tricks we can use, right? So the one I'm going to use today is transform. I'm going to add a transform. It's going to be rotate. And you can see if I'm rotating here around the Z axis, that's the one that goes through the screen directly from the user, right? You can see I can rotate it around that axis, right? And we have this little cool feature here called origin, where you can actually set the transform origin, which means the point that this transform happens relative to. So if I set it to the bottom instead, as I'm rotating this, you can actually see it doesn't quite rotate around the center anymore. It rotates around a point at the very bottom here. And we can even set that even further by saying, I want that to be 100 pixels below where this item is set. And now when I start rotating, we start rotating as this nice circle, right? Great. So how does that help us? Because obviously we are still in this, the span is still just a span. The text isn't curving, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use what we just learned. We're going to split up this text into individual letters, and then we're going to rotate each of those letters at different amount of degrees so that we end up doing this whole rotation, right? So instead of adding the text in here, I'm actually going to create a variable that holds our text value. I'm going to call it text. I'm going to say welcome to Nordcraft.com. I'm going to do a space. I'm going to do one of those little fancy raised elevated dots. I actually don't know what this is called. If you know what this is called, please comment below. And then a space, right? So this is going to be the text we're gonna be using, right? And so I'm now going to use a little Nodecraft trick here. This is not 100% CSS only, because you could absolutely just duplicate this, type W, right? Yeah, next one, that's going to be E, but nobody wants to sit and watch that video, right? That sounds really boring. So instead, we're going to repeat this element. I'm going to take my text and I'm going to split it by, and here just an empty string. And what that does is that it breaks every single character, the text, into an array of every single character, right? So now we have, you can see here, we have welcome to Nordcraft, the whole thing, right? And even a bit more, right? So now, of course, they all say span. They're not supposed to say span. So we're going to change that to be the item, like the item that we repeated over. And now we have this welcome to Nordcraft text that looks a bit weird, right? So a few more things we need to do. Let's reset our rotation first, right? Here, we're just going to set that to 0, right? So now we have this written down. We actually want to start with each letter stacked on top of each other. So we're going to change this up here to be this position absolute, right? Absolute means I'm not going to be part of the layout. I kind of just have my own place within my container. I'm not going to push the other letters anywhere. So now we have these weird every letters on top of each other, right? And so in order to figure out how much are we going to rotate these letters, how much should they be rotated, each of them, because that's going to be different for every letter, right? Like the first one is going to be rotated some degree. The next one is going to be twice that. The third one is going to be 3 times that, etc., right? In order to get the letter spacing right. So to do that, we're going to add a style variable. Because style variables let us bind logic from inside the formulator to inside like styles inside our style panel, right? I'm going to move myself. We're going to go to the right. And I'm going to change it to a size, to a type rotation. I'm going to call it rotate. And we're going to use the unit of degrees, right? And so the amount we want to rotate is going to be the index, so its position in the list. And then we're going to multiply by some factor to get the right number of degrees. And we can try and do 5 just for fun, right? Let's just start with that. We'll try and say each one has 5 degrees. And now, of course, in order to make this work, we also have to, like we created a variable, we have to use it as well. So we're going to go into here. I'm going to say use the rotate variable, right? So now we can see we're starting to get that effect. We can also see that 5 was not the right number, right? Because they're a little bit too close. And we actually wanted to form a full circle. So in order to ensure that it always forms a full circle, we're going to actually calculate what the rotation should be, right? Because it should be essentially the number of letters, like divided by the number of letters, but then multiplied up to 360, right? So 360 is the full degree of a circle. So the formula here is you're going to divide 1 over, let me just go on, 1 over the index. No, that's not true. 1 over the size of the text, right? How many characters are in the text? And then you're going to multiply that with 360. Right? Is that right? Oh, I did that wrong. I divided it wrong. Right, so here we are. 1 over. There we go. Right, so let's just have a look at that formula. We get the index, the current position in the text. First, then here we divide that, we multiply that by the degree each letter should occupy, like the degree of the full circle, which is 1 over the size of the text divided by the 360 degrees that are in a full circle, right? And now we can see we get that text and it goes all the way around and actually looks pretty good. Now we could decide that we want to change the letter spacing a bit, and the easiest way to do that, if we want to keep the same 360, is just to change the actual size of this circle. Like, and we do that by changing the offset in the transform, right? But I actually like 100, so I think I hit it right. And of course, the reason why the red borders here is because we just want that to fit neatly inside, like our circle to fit neatly inside this box. And we set that to 200, 200. That means that if the element inside has like a transform offset 100, that's going to be the radius of that circle, and 2 is going to be the diameter. So it also defines the box around it. So now that we know that that all works, we can get rid of our border, right? And the last thing we need to do now is just to give this a nice rotation animation. So I'm going to select the div, the containing one. I'm going to go down to animation. And I'm going to pick the rotate one, right? I'm just going to, move this up a bit. And we're starting from 0 degrees all the way to 360 degrees. That works pretty well. Let's just move this up here so we can see everything. Everything at the same time, including my face. There we are. And if we play this, right, it's a bit fast. We also wanted to have a nice linear feel. Like normally we have like some sort of easing function. So builds up momentum. We don't really want that here. And so this is better. It's a bit fast. Let me just move myself over again. It's a bit fast, So let's give it 10 seconds instead. And we want it to keep going forever. So we're going to say loop animation infinitely, right? So let's try now. Now we get this nice, slow, rotating effects of our elements spinning around. If we go see it on full screen, we can see here we are. And it looks pretty sweet. That was just over 10 minutes with the explanation. If you want to see more examples of what you can do with Nordcraft, and especially our new animation editor that we just recently launched, we're going to produce a ton more videos showing you all the cool features that it has. So make sure you like and subscribe to this video so we know to make more and you get notified when they come out. Thank you very much.